Alright, so today Clay and I, as well as our friend Chester over here, are going to show you how to play the Engage, Disengage game, which is teaching your dog to look at something like another dog or a person, and instead of reacting to it, to look back at you. I've used this for a number of different behavior problems, including dogs who may lunge or bark at people or other dogs on walks, as well as dogs who are either fearful of people coming in the house or get overexcited. I've also used this for dogs who like to chase cats. So when I'm talking about this game, I'm going to use the phrase trigger, and that's essentially going to describe anything that your dog may be reacting to. Before we get started in talking about the steps to this game, I want to talk about equipment first. So I always recommend using a leash as well as a front clip harness when you're playing this game. I prefer to use the front clip harness over a collar because one, you're taking that pressure off of their neck and putting it on their chest. Two, having that clip on the front can give you a little bit more control, especially if your dog starts to lunge at that thing. And then the other thing that I like to use are super delicious, tasty treats. And I actually prefer to use something called a squeeze tube, which is a tube that I'll put wet dog food in. You can also put like blended up boiled chicken. I've had people put yams in there. Really anything that has a thick, gooey consistency. I find using the squeeze tube, it's a little bit easier to dispense treats to your dog. This is also helpful for dogs who get a little bit mouthy when they're overstimulated or excited. So now that we've talked about equipment, now we can actually get into the steps of how to play this game. When you're playing this game with your dog, you want to make sure that you're far enough away where your dog can notice the trigger, but they aren't reacting to it. At that step, what you want to do is every time your dog looks at that trigger, you want to mark either using a verbal marker, like yes or good, or using a clicker. When you use that marker, your dog should turn to look at you, and that's the point where you want to reward them. Eventually what's going to happen is, as time goes on, your dog's going to look at that trigger and then automatically look back at you, which is your ultimate goal when playing this game. As your dog's getting better at that, you can start to move closer and closer to your trigger, eventually learning to either pass that trigger if you're on a walk, or have a dog completely leave a cat alone, or a dog who's getting a little bit more comfortable with people being in the house. So now Clay and I are going to actually demonstrate how this game looks.